Hello, I'm Dr. Garrett Boyer. Welcome to my channel. This is an outreach of Benedictus Psychological Services. Interested in behavioral health with a Catholic Christian perspective? If so, check out benedictuspsych.com. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you for giving me just a few moments to spend with you and share a couple reflections that I had about today. I hope you had a good Memorial Day. I certainly did. Look at me, I didn't shave today. My wife let me sleep in this morning. We grilled this evening. Lovely way to spend a day off. Of course, you and I know that those aren't the most important parts about today. Memorial Day is a time that we, as a nation, pause and reflect and thank God for the gift of those folks who have paid the ultimate price for the sake of their nation, and for those who honorably serve their country and have now gone to their rest. So a couple of thoughts that I had, experiences that happened to me just in the last couple of days. This past week, towards the end of the week, I had somebody come into my office and I asked why they were there, and they said it was because they were dealing with anger and irritability, having a hard time sleeping, symptoms of depression and anxiety. And it sounded like this sort of stuff had been going on for quite a long time. So we spent a while talking, and come to find out that this was an individual who had been in this service, military member, had deployed several times. And in 2010, 2011, there's a very long deployment. And during that time, this individual was frequently attacked by terrorist organizations in an austere environment. And many times this individual was afraid for his life. And it was prolonged for months and months and months at a time. And as he was talking about it, I was just thinking, like, man, I can't imagine being in that kind of a situation where I am literally afraid for my life all day, every day, for months at a time. When the service member came back, he remarked that he was different and nothing was quite the way that it was before he had deployed. And so today, he's in my office, ostensibly talking about anger and irritability and anxiety and depression, but what it really was post-traumatic stress, unprocessed post-traumatic stress from a highly dangerous situation that he was in for months and months and months, but years ago. So put that on the shelf for one moment. And now something that happened today. So I took my kids to a cemetery, and the cemetery was beautiful. It was lined with crosses and the names of service members who are buried in that cemetery. There were flags everywhere in the cemetery. And one thing that caught my eye, there was a part of the cemetery where a lot of service members are buried. And it was towards the end of the evening, and there was a guy out there. I noticed that the dude's pickup truck was parked, and he had a lawn chair, and he was sitting beside the grave of one of these deceased service members. And he had a case of beer, and he was just sitting there. From the outside looking in, it looked like he was sharing a beer with his buddy. This guy was, I didn't ask, I didn't talk to him, but he looked like he was probably a service member himself or a former service member. From a distance, I noticed that he wore a bracelet, which is often worn by service members who lost a friend, either in combat or after they've come back. But these bracelets are very often connected with a friend or peer, a colleague who has died in some connection to the military. So why am I bringing this up? The first case, that guy that I talked to in my office the other day, listen, for a lot of service members, men and women who have deployed to austere environments and been involved in combat, for so many of them, the battle doesn't stop once they are home. In fact, in a lot of ways, the fight is just getting started. Post-traumatic stress disorder, combat stress, all of those things that they have to try and wrestle with and process here at home, it's not easy. And for a lot of them, they don't know how to talk about it. They don't know what to do with it. Their family members and friends don't necessarily know how to help them. It was kind of interesting. At the end of our session, I asked the service member how he felt having talked about his experiences while deployed. And he said he felt a real sense of relief. Almost 15 years now after he'd been deployed, he said, "This is the first time I've ever talked to anybody about what happened to me there." And I thought, what a real privilege for me to be the first person to hear that and to help him talk through his memories of what happened so many years ago. But keep that in mind on this Memorial Day, that for so many service members, men and women who had deployed, their experience of combat does not end once they are back at home and safe and sound with their family members and friends. Again, in so many ways, the battle is still raging for them in the form of post-traumatic stress and post-traumatic stress disorder. And then to this other point about this individual that I saw in the cemetery today, it's not just the service members who struggle when they return home from deployment. It's oftentimes their family members, their friends, their colleagues, their peers. In this case, probably his battle buddy, his friend. They too take part in that fight. And in this case, the way it looked was he lost a friend, either in combat or when his friend came home, somehow died. But it's the family members, the friends, the colleagues, the peers of service members as well, who we should also be alert to and attentive to on this Memorial Day. And so my final point is this. We spend this day, Memorial Day, being considerate of those who wore the uniform for our country and have now died. And I'm glad that we take this day collectively as a nation at the end of May each year. But considering what so many of our service members endure and go through, and then what their family members and friends experience as well, let's make every day a kind of Memorial Day where we can thank God for the men and women who have fought for their country and worn the uniform, and we can do our part to show them love and support by never taking for granted the sacrifices that they have made. So these are a couple things that were on my mind today. Hope you found this useful, and I hope you'll join me in time at the end of this Memorial Day to just thank God for the gift of our nation and those who have fought to keep her safe and free. Until next time, I'll keep you in prayer. Please keep me in prayer. I'm Dr. Garrett Boyer. Happy Memorial Day. Take care.